I will always have to live with what happened to me, and it's going to be living with me side by side for the rest of my life. You know, for example, my mum, the first thing she said to me, she was like, oh, but you're fine now. You've got away from him. And no, if anything, your world then gets completely turned upside down, because if you've been, whether you've been in an abusive relationship for an hour, a day, a month, a year, 10 years, there's things that the abuser does to you that will never leave you, from literally telling you everything that's wrong with you, putting you in certain situations where you feel so humiliated. The simplest of things, like getting dressed in the morning. You know, what do I wear? I'm used to being told what to wear in such an aggressive way that these things I didn't have to think of, or, you know, I'm not allowed to have a credit card, I'm not allowed to drive, so you have to relearn everything again.
So all that happened to you?
Oh yeah, and way worse, way worse. I mean,
like what?
The levels of abuse don't just, especially if you stay with them for longer, they start isolating you, so you don't really have any friends, your phone gets monitored, your every move gets monitored, whether you're working or not. And then there's the constant threat of, if you leave me, I'm going to blackmail you, or I'm going to tell everybody how crazy you are. So...
I mean, it's terrifying.
Yeah, it is. And it's something that happens a lot, all the time, whether you're from a council estate or whether you're in the Houses of Parliament. It can happen to anyone. It doesn't discriminate against your age, race, how wealthy you are, how poor you are.
Do you think your Spice Girl friends knew what was going on?
Yeah, I think some of them did in dribs and drabs. But I was in it for 10 years. I was very good at hiding a lot of things, especially anything to do with my then husband and what I was going home to, or what I'd just come from.
One Woman's Charity reports government figures from a few years ago where 41% of UK girls aged 14 to 17 in an intimate relationship experience some form of sexual violence from their partner. How do you react to that?
Well, I mean, it's an epidemic, and I'm glad we have got statistics out there where we can openly talk about this, because, you know, when I brought my book out, nobody wanted to talk about it. It was like a taboo topic. It was something that everybody knows about, but nobody talks about it. So it's not just happening to 20, 30-year-olds, it's happening to kids as soon as they start some kind of intimate relationship, and that will be where it's getting younger and younger now. And that's a sad state of affairs to think the statistics are that high.
What are the gaps, do you think, in the way we offer domestic abuse services?
Well, I mean, like, if I'm living here and I want to report it to the police, I don't know if I can trust the police. I don't know if they're going to take my allegations seriously. I don't know if they're going to walk into my house and make sure I sit with my partner and take my report, or they're even going to know the telltale signs. The education needs to be completely across the board.
But that's interesting that you talk about not trusting the police. There have been some high-profile cases recently. If you were experiencing domestic abuse, would you call the police?
I wouldn't, because I wouldn't know if they would take it seriously. I mean, they have to redo the whole entire system, just like the justice system, where you do have belief and you do have trust and you do feel safe reaching out to an authoritative figure. You know, just like if I'm going to report that I've been badly physically abused, if I'm going to go to the doctor, is the doctor really going to understand or be able to pinpoint that that's come from abuse? It's like every aspect you turn to needs to be re-looked at, re-educated, and it should all come from an experience point. Like women, it's getting younger and younger, and it's getting more and more widespread because these abusers just get away with it, and it's almost become a cultural thing just to do, to see if you can get away with it, and you can get away with it.
I want to ask you about December 2014. You were a judge on The X Factor. It's the live final, and you appeared without your wedding ring, and it looked as though you had a bruise on the side of your face, which was covered with makeup, and you had scratches on your arms. What made you decide to do that?
I think by that point, when I was doing The X Factor and I'd missed that show the night before, I'm very much 100%. When I commit to my work, I commit to my work no matter what happens. And I got myself out of the hospital bed. I wanted to do the show. I was making some kind of gesture, like I took my wedding ring off. I'm like, you're not going to be controlling me or deciding how this story plays out. So I guess it was wanting to somewhat say this has to stop to my then husband, but then also saying, look what you've done to me. Look what you did.
Melanie Brown, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.